Welcome to the Investing Podcast, presented by Tusk Media. Now, for your early morning look at financial news and activity in audio and video form, here's the Morning Market Mimosa.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Investing Podcast, presented, as always, by Tusk Media. While you're listening, go ahead and check us out on Twitter. Tusk Media is on Twitter. That's right, folks. Twitter.com/Tusk Media LLC. Guess what? We're also on Facebook. Check us out, Facebook.com/Tusk Media LLC. Mr. Ben Nye is back for the Morning Market Mimosa, the Benmosa, if you will. He's back from a trip out west. How's the weekend?
It was great. Went wedding and saw some folks and saw the family.
All over. So, nice little 3-day weekend, and we're going to make him pay for that. We're going to make him basically dominate the conversation today. So he's up today. We will run through futures real quickly. Dow futures down 23 basis points. S&P futures also down 23 basis points. NASDAQ down 20 basis points. Gold up about 2/3%. Oil down about 20 bips at about 45.68. Oil's had a crazy little run.
Yeah, the dollar. I mean, the dollar's just moving quickly. People talking higher inflation. Touched on that yesterday. Touch on that a little bit more today.
Yeah.
Yen breaking down below 100.
Yeah,
so
it's crazy.
Boy.
Crazy time. So let's hit some of these topics that you got here. Jump in right here. Let's hear a little bit about Lynn, and if you see the weird ticker right there, it's because it's not an American company, and we think we got the ticker right, but we might not have.
Yeah.
But talk to us about what's going on there.
Yeah. So what we're seeing in that space is there's just a lot of these companies provide like nitrogen, carbon dioxide, oxygen, stuff that you can't get every day in the air. Like, it just doesn't happen.
Yeah, you can't find that stuff anywhere.
But it's a very consolidated industry. So there's some question about whether or not this deal is going to go through. There's a lot of things moving in the industry. Air Liquide, get the French pronunciation,
yeah.
right?
Air Liquide. Austin, the old intern, was a big Air Liquide guy.
Right.
Big fan.
So they just bought Air Gas. Got spin-off of Air Products. They're kind of doing some corporate restructuring, focusing on the core. Sam actually interned for them back in the day. So interestingly, we'll see what the authorities say if they regularly sign off on a deal like this when you're going down to 3 competitors.
Yeah.
They may or may not, but it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. Yeah, so another story that we've been watching, I guess, it seems like this has been going on for several years, but Volkswagen, the emissions scandal, the scandal that doesn't die, which is kind of an odd thing. We're in such a high-frequency data environment, headlines changing all the time, but it seems like the constant thing that we see are kind of these prolonged scandals, and it seems almost disproportionately tied to automakers. Right. A lot of times for whatever reasons, probably a myriad of reasons, but Volkswagen just...
They're talking about criminal prosecution now, and they're talking about, but then they'd have to extradite them because they're all German. It's ridiculous, and what's crazy is that it took so long for this to come to light. I mean, I just moved down to Georgia, and I had to get my car have an emissions test. And you'd think that when cars start to fail these emissions tests,
start to build up.
Exactly. Not the case though. So, or maybe it was the case, and they just took their sweet time.
Yeah, it took a while, and now they're yet again just dragging this thing on. Thoughts on the criminal proceedings in general? It seems a little over the top.
It does.
A lot over the top.
Right. I think it's but they're making it so people are very nervous about doing this in the future.
Yeah.
It seems.
Yeah, they're definitely sending that message, and I think you saw that to some extent. Back when you had all the banks restructured, and you had it seemed like for a long time, like AIG, for instance, was just a whipping boy, and just kind of made an example of on so many cases. And we're kind of seeing that here, it seems like, with Volkswagen. BHP, talk to us about earnings.
Oof. Well, when you have a commodity company that, is by definition a price taker, no matter what anyone says, and they're going to just take price all day long. And when commodity prices are not doing well, the company's not going to do well either. It's kind of interesting, though, to bring up BHP because Stan Druckenmiller, he has a large position, and his 13F just came out. He really beefed up his commodity-based holdings in the last quarter. Now he may be out of those. I mean, he trades pretty quickly, but, you know, he had Halliburton and he had some others, but Freeport McMoran. So BHP, though, they talk about strategy there, but at the end of the day, you know.
They're at everybody else's mercy.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, it's a tough spot to be in, between a rock and a hard place, if you will, if you're BHP. Let's talk about school with a dollar sign. Some new programs coming out. What's going on there?
Yeah, interestingly, $17 million in federal loans and grants to non-traditional schools. So these are your schools like your coding academies. We had one in Portland actually called Epicodus. I actually dealt with them a little bit, so I have some first-hand knowledge on them, and they're expanding extremely rapidly, and they're not hurting for students.
Right.
So it's interesting that the government's testing these programs. We'll see how it goes. I mean, it's $17 million, which is, you know,
Kind of a drop in the bucket
exactly.
of educational costs, especially some of those coding programs are incredibly expensive.
Yeah.
You see them and you think, oh, it's a 9 or 12 month
Right.
process, and you're paying for quite a bit more than a 9 to 12 month process.
Indeed.
But probably walking in with a pretty nice job. And like you said, it's an interesting space to explore.
Right.
Admittedly, a drop in the bucket, but not really a space that is challenged for students.
Right.
Seems kind of all the rage right now. I mean, you read all the time these articles about how 90% of the top paying jobs now
Yeah.
have this one skill set, and it's coding. So, you a code guy at all?
I haven't done much myself. I actually considered, you know, doing something like that at some point and kind of enhancing my skill set, kind of like the rest of America.
You're right.
So.
And now that they have this program, maybe.
Right, you know, get a grant.
Get a grant, yeah.
Narwhal grant.
Yeah, there
for Narwhal.
Yeah, we need a coder. We need more coders. Inflation, we touched on it a little bit. Some are calling for higher inflation this morning. Also, some saying that the call for 2% inflation is premature. We do see some movements in the 10-year. 10-year right now at 1.552 versus a 1.516 yield as of prior to this point. What are you seeing in terms of inflation, and what's the impact and the conversation we need to be thinking about?
You know, it's as far as current inflation, it seems like it's not taking off, except in when you buy healthcare and
Right.
houses and
Yeah.
things that no one needs. Right?
The rate of healthcare inflation is like 15%.
Right.
Yeah.
What's interesting to me is, so I read through the actual Williams letter that he wrote, the president of the San Francisco Fed. His topic sentence is, nature abhors a vacuum, so monetary policy abhors stasis. In other words, they like to do stuff.
They like to.
Just to do stuff, because they don't like stasis. So they're talking about moving the inflation target up, or even targeting nominal GDP as a path in the future, which, I mean, one could even argue that they're kind of doing that now with their loose adherence to their unemployment target and the future expectations of inflation.
Yeah, I kind of like that topic sentence. It's surprisingly accurate and maybe a little bit vulnerable, but at the same time, anybody that follows any releases from the Fed, I mean, you feel like they're constantly trying to do something.
I think
even if it's just to plant things with words, they're trying to do something.
I think Mr. Jim Grant will have something to say on this.
Yes, yeah, I think that'll be a topic for some time. Ben, thanks for being back here. We're going to be back in a little while with a stock market power lunch. We're going to be back at the end of the day with investing happy hour. Going to get everybody an Olympic update at some point, but as you can tell, we have a lot to cover. Thanks for being here. Hit subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Leave a 5-star review. We will read it on the air. And make sure you catch some of the long-form stuff that we got coming up over the next couple weeks. Y'all have a great day.
Tusk Media is a subsidiary of Narwhal Capital Management. Ratings and reviews of Tusk Media content are not to be construed as endorsements of opinions, analysis, or services offered by Tusk or its parent company. The opinions and predictions shared here are our professional beliefs at the time of publication. We are not under duress from any of the corporate entities mentioned. This is not a solicitation to take any particular action. Although we are investment advisors, this information should not be considered investment, legal, or tax advice. We strive to be as impartial, insightful, and accurate as possible. We base our opinions, analysis, and calculations on information we believe to be reliable, but we cannot guarantee its accuracy. We can, however, guarantee that our opinions will sometimes be flat out wrong due to a variety of factors. Employees and clients of Narwhal Capital Management may or may not hold positions in the securities detailed and may or may not hold these positions in the future. A full list of all securities purchased, sold, or held during the 12 months preceding the date of this publication can be provided upon request. Unless otherwise noted, all data accessed via MarketWatch or the Bloomberg terminal. Past performance does not guarantee future results. A copy of Narwhal's Form ADV is available at the SEC's website, www.advisorinfo.sec.gov, or from Narwhal upon written request.